All right, all set.
Okay, thank you. Call a meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock, August 20th, 2024. And first, I'd like to thank you guys for letting us tour the house a couple weeks ago. It was very interesting. I was, personally, I was a little disappointed at the architectural features. I was expecting something more substantial. I'd never been in the house before, so I was expecting. I've been in some of the other older houses in town, and they're quite impressive. But I guess that was the style back in 1890. So it is what it is. Anything new on your part? You said you got the design back from your architect. Your plans are still going forward as roughly as presented?
Yeah, so we made some changes to the original after doing a feasibility study with the architect. Our original proposal included a mixture of condos, townhomes, and a series of two families that would have been across from the townhomes. So instead of side by side, it would have been more like a Philadelphia style living space where there would be two levels of living space, one over the other. We decided to get rid of those and do all townhomes behind the two condo buildings. So now we are showing a total of 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 townhomes, and with two multifamily buildings up at the street. And we arrived at this. This is all based on feedback we received at our initial the informal planning board meeting we attended back in July.
Okay. We have another gentleman come in. Is he one of yours, or is one of our residents?
Yes, Michael is part of our team. He's
Okay.
a project manager with us.
Oh, sir.
All right. Evening, Mike. Welcome to the Historical Commission meeting.
Thank you, sir.
And Michael David is a Bridgewater resident. He lives on Vernon Street.
Okay. Manter. That name sounds familiar. Yeah, have you lived in Bridgewater long?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Since 98.
98. Okay. Well, I taught school in town for 20 years before I became building inspector. That's why that's why it sounds a little familiar, but whatever. It's not important. Okay, Sherry and Jeff, you were with me on the tour. Would you like to speak at all?
I happen to agree with you. I thought the inside was extremely Spartan. The outside, is lovely. It has some lovely features, but the inside, for that period, I was really disappointed.
Yeah.
There was only one fireplace in one of the front rooms that really had any significant decoration to it.
Yeah.
And first I thought maybe they had taken some things away. Maybe they had lovely mantles, but I was looking, especially in that window seat. That's all original. So everything was just very Spartan. The only word I can think of.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in the same boat as you, David. I don't really have anything to compare it to, though. I mean, it was neat seeing all the architecture and stuff in there, but yeah, same as what you said.
Yeah. Well, I really don't know what to say as far as your plans are your plans. You've given it a lot of thought and so forth. All the historical commission can do is ask you to reconsider everything, and consider saving it, and you've done that. You've explained your point of view, and so from the commission standpoint, we've held you up for quite a while, and nothing has changed. Nobody has come forward with from the community to offer you $1.5 million for your property and take it off your hands and restore it. So I don't know what else we can say. And my commission is speechless.
Yeah, I don't really see any point in saving it. I mean, it's just gonna get worse,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I would rather have something that's going to accommodate people being able to live in our community than let it fall by the wayside.
yeah. I think at this point, the only thing we can ask you to do is to try to keep the original design in mind as you're moving forward with your buildings. And whatever your building designs are going to be, try to keep it in taste with some of the other older homes in the neighborhood and so forth, with both materials. You mentioned using clapboard siding of one type or another, whether it be cement board or whatever. But that's all we can ask you to do, is just keep the neighborhood in mind with your designs. And one or two of us will probably be at the planning board meetings to make those statements to Mr. Driscoll and the rest of the board, that we'd like to see something that fits the area.
I
So,
think,
anybody
think
want to make a
Adam-
motion to let them go forward?
I'll make a motion to let them go forward. I motion to
I'll
let them go forward.
Okay,
I'll
seconded.
second.
Any further
I'll second.
discussion? Okay, motion's been made and seconded to allow the proponents to proceed with their project and keep in mind the architectural features. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Gentlemen, good luck with your project, and we hope it comes out nice. Does Bridgewater Pride.
Thank you all for your time, and thank you for coming out to see the property. And I can assure you, we take pride in what we build, and it will be something that I think you'll be pleased with.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right,
Thank you, folks.
yeah.
Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the other item we had on the agenda is our change in status letter. I've been attending a lot of council meetings lately concerning the replacement of the town manager. And I believe the president of the council, Mr. Perry, brought it up. I guess they've got a bunch of changes to the admin code. But once again, ours is there, but I guess they're going to be heard again. But right now, they're pretty well bogged down with replacing the manager or coming up with an interim town manager. So our request is on hold for the time being.
How many years is this now, David?
Well, it was presented a year ago last May.
Okay.
So that's when we got on the list.
Mm-hmm.
One other interesting thing that's come up, you may have heard about it, you may not. When Mr. Flaherty got back from his Florida vacation, he was served with papers from DEP. I don't remember the exact term of the violation, but
Oops.
his property has been identified as containing hazardous waste. And it's all a result of when they scraped the bottom of the river in the process of doing things for the replacement of the bridge and removal of the dam and so forth. They stockpiled all the material on his site. And in doing so, when they removed the material from his site, I'm not gonna be, I think I know why it's still there. I mean, doesn't sound like it was handled properly, but, you know, that's up to the scientists and the engineers to determine. But his, property has become contaminated with, PCBs, which is, some serious stuff. I don't know what the level is or whatever, but he has already spent close to $100,000 in, legal fees and engineering fees to try to, find out where to go with it. And, he had a hard time getting through the town because I guess the town was ultimately, the people in charge of this project through the bridge rebuild. Although there were other agencies, Fish and Wildlife and so forth, it was primarily the town that was behind the project. So, Mr. Flaherty was trying to find some relief somewhere, on the project. So it's a historic project kind of gone bad. So we'll
Is
have to
there,
monitor that, see where it goes.
is there a home on that property?
No, there isn't.
Oh, okay. Where is it, David?
As you're going down High Street, you're going over the new bridge. The dam would have
Mhm.
been on your right-hand side. Mr. Flaherty's property is on the left-hand side on the western
Oh.
shore of the, river. The big building, the big mill building was Jenkins Mill, for a long time. Mr. Flaherty has owned it for 30 or 40 years. He has his, business in there, Advanced Pollution Control. And if you've ever seen some of his trucks, they, basically, it's a gigantic vacuum cleaner, on a truck. And, what they specialize in is, they'll go into a job site and where there's material to be removed, they turn on this giant vacuum cleaner and they suck dirt and rocks and everything else. And it goes into the tank and they do what they have to do. In some cases, they put the, material back, dump it back in the hole. Or if it's, hazardous material, they'll bring it to a site to have it disposed of. And, I've seen it used twice in Bridgewater. The, Lucky Star Gas in the center of town, when they
Yes.
were removing, some old fuel tanks on the site, probably 30 years ago, they couldn't dig a big hole there to get with the proper slopes and everything to keep the, keep things from falling back in. So what they did was, they brought in Mr. Flaherty's truck, scraped off the asphalt and concrete slab, and just turned on the vacuum and just sucked all the dirt away from the tank, quickly pulled the tank out of the hole and tested the soil, then put a new tank back in and refilled the, hole with material. I saw him do this on a house foundation also, where the oil tank had burst. They went into the basement with this vacuum cleaner and they sucked all the oil-laden soil out of the basement floor. And it's a fascinating process. It's quick, it gets it done. He's done a lot of work in the Big Dig, and all the tunnels. The tunnels are circular in Boston, so under the roadway, there's a huge area. And part of his job was to go in and clean those out, after, many years of silt and so forth. So that's Mr. Flaherty's business. So, he's,
Kind of ironic, though, that what he does for a living got dumped in his property.
Yeah.
right. And
Not
it's,
funny, but
No,
no,
The
it
irony.
puts him in a very, dangerous position also because his business hauls this stuff, to have it on his property now. People are gonna be reluctant to secure his business because they don't wanna be able, they don't
Right.
want it said that well, some of our stuff ended up on your property on the edge of the town river, and it could be contaminating the site, and, you know, we're involved and everything, so he wants to get this cleaned up and out of there as fast as possible.
I don't blame him.
Yeah,
Can he use his trucks to do that?
well, probably. Somebody's gonna pay him, pick up the bill.
Yeah.
But he's gotta go through, as a pretty extensive procedure with DEP. To get clearance to do that, and maybe the feds too. And somebody said the PCBs may have come down river from Brockton, but there's no river upstream of the town river that would come from Brockton that I'm aware of. You have the Matfield River flows into the Setauket. Matfield comes out of Brockton, south end of Brockton, and I could see that being contaminated, but that flows into, let's see, the Setauket flows into the Matfield over in East Bridgewater, and then it comes into the town river, but not until you get down on High Street by our new water treatment plant. So, and, well, it's the other Jenkins Mill, our Bridgewater Farm Supply is where the rivers actually meet, behind that property. So I don't know what the source of that contamination would have been, but it's up to the engineers to try to figure it out and what to do with it, if there's any more there or whatever. So,
Yeah. I don't think they should just let it sit there while they figure it out, though.
no, I'm sure that the material has been capped either with waterproof tops or with a layer of clay until they determine the best way to get it out and the extent of the pollution. They'd have to do test wells and everything else to identify all of that. But he has talked to some of the councilors. And of course, Mr. Dutton, who was in charge of the project, he'll be out of here by the 12th of September. And I don't know who else from the town may have been involved as the in charge of this special projects. So we'll have to wait and see. But so that's about it. Anything else, Jeff, from the community preservation?
Let's see. The Styles and Hart project. They're
Oh,
working
yeah,
on it.
yeah. I see the parking lots are in.
Yeah, they said it should be done by autumn,
Oh,
but there's a possible issue with some landlocked land.
landlocked what?
Some land that's landlocked in there.
Oh, I know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
The old, well, it was the Fairgrounds Exhibition Hall, and then it was a shoe factory for a while, but there's been nothing on the site, I think, since probably 1950. I think that building came down. And it's totally landlocked, and the owner wants to swap it with the town for a piece of property that abuts his, and in return, he'll turn that over to the town. But they're kind of playing hardball with him as far as the value of the land, because it is landlocked. He owns it, but he can't get to it without crossing over town land. So, and to get to it, you go in the dirt road, just go past McDonald's. There's a dirt road just over the river, and that's the sewer easement. And that property is off of that dirt road. It isn't, I don't think it touches it. The sewer easement doesn't go over his property, but it goes near it. And if you go in there, it's all town land, but when you get to the bricks, that's the basement of the exhibition hall, or what's left of it.
yep.
It's owned by Mike Mazzolini. His father picked up a little bulldozer a number of years ago and thought it would be cool to go in there and level that foundation. So he did that, and he got into a lot of trouble with the Conservation Commission because he was within 100 feet of the river. So that's pretty much what happened at the foundation. But yeah, I don't know why that would hold it up. Maybe because of the trails.
Yeah, I
they
think
probably
it
want
was
to keep
because of that.
keep the trails all interconnected. I was talking with Harry Bailey. He's one of the attendants, volunteer attendants down at the our see, it's not the dump, it's our transfer station. He was saying that the Appalachian Mountain Club came in over the summer with 2 brush cutters, and they cut a bunch of trails in there. So I haven't been down there since they did the work, but it sounds like it might be pretty interesting.
Yeah, pretty close to being done.
Yeah, the homeless colony is gone, right?
I haven't heard anything about that, so
Okay.
I assume so.
Yeah, if you went in the northernmost parking lot, not the one next to the Chinese restaurant, but the one further up, and walked in that road until you got to the pond, and if you look to the left across the pond, there were 2 or 3 tents with some homeless people living there. But that was a little over a year ago was the last time I was down there. So, but
Were they
should
on-
be interesting.
were they
I
on
see
the-
the kiosks are up.
Were they, these poor homeless people, were they on the town property or that
Yeah.
man's property?
No,
Town?
town property.
Mhm.
Yeah, that man's property is on the southern end of the property closer to the river. These people were on the
Oh.
northern end.
Hmm.
And while we're talking about the park, there was probably more than a year ago now, there was talk about the people who owned the Alden House up on High Street. They wanted to donate some land to the town or sell it to the town. Community Preservation talked with them at one time. But one of the mother of the 6 children, she passed away. And once she passed away, everything just kind of quieted down about the whole thing. And I was talking with somebody recently who said that one of the kids has bought out the shares of the remaining children. So he's in total control of all the property now. So it's unfortunately that's happens too often when you have parents pass away and kids end up with money, and they're all friendly when mom and dad are alive, but as soon as they're in charge, they start fighting over it. And
Yep.
So we just have to wait and see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. Another thing is the Parthenon freezes.
Yes.
The first survey was done, and DPW is scheduling installation. It should happen like a week, or maybe it's already happened, because this was announced back in July.
Are they going up in the Academy building?
Yeah, I think so.
Great. It's good to hear. So they found a wall strong enough to hold them.
I think they said they had to reinforce it.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how DPW works, but as far as I know, that the first survey was done, and they were supposed to schedule installation 2 weeks from July 24th.
Oh. Okay. Well, next time I go up to the Academy building, I'll have to take a look. See if I
Okay.
can spot them. Be up there, next Tuesday night for council meeting. Are you folks aware of the next meeting that's coming up on the Vision to Reality? And I think it's in 2 weeks, and it's going to be down at the college. And Mr. Rulli is going to put on a presentation about his proposals to remedy the traffic situation in the center of town. It's been on the internet. I think there's no charge to get in, but I think they're asking people to acquire a ticket so they can have a better count on how many people are going to be there. And I believe it's probably on the town website. And if you can't find anything on it, let me know. I'm scheduled to go. And let's see if I can find the date. Should be interesting. Let's see. Lodge,
Wasn't there
Kathy.
original plan? What's up?
Wednesday, September 4th at 6:30. It's at the Moakley Center. And down at the college. And I think if you go to the Community and Economic Development website or their try to contact them through the computer, you should be able to acquire some tickets, because my wife saw something on Facebook yesterday, and she grabbed me a ticket. I thought I had already done that, but she said just in case, she grabbed me one. So it should be an interesting presentation.
Mm.
Yeah.
I've seen some engineers in this past week around the center of town doing some survey work, so could be related to it, and maybe not. So
If I remember correctly, wasn't their vision like a single lane or a single road through the center?
I've seen a couple possibilities, and one of them did involve one 2-lane two bi-directional route, and I think it was on the side of the old town hall to get through the center, but I could be wrong. That was one of them, and the other ones were parallel parking, traffic calming, bump outs, and all that sort of stuff. And it's all going to depend on the property owners around the common who wants to participate in this. And it'll also be interesting to see how long Mr. Rulli sticks around now that his principal support, Mr. Dutton, is leaving town. So we hope they totally don't abandon the projects, because we'd like to see something happen with the bowling alley Friendly's property. So we have to wait and see. Just getting a little off the subject, but it still involves housing, and it will impact the center of town, and it'll probably impact some of our more historic homes. The housing bill that was signed into effect by the governor the 16th of August involves mini houses. You probably read stories about these in other states, in California and everything, where they put these little tiny 500 square foot homes in different places, and people love them, live in them, have a good time with them. Well, we've always had in our bylaws in-law apartments. This is something I put in 30 years ago, up to 600 square feet. And I think they recently increased it up to 800 square feet if you wanted to put an addition on your house for kids or parents or whatever. But now this law will allow these mini homes as of right. You don't have to go to the planning board or the zoning board of appeals to put these in. The exact details haven't been worked out, and that'll be up to the towns, but it's an amendment to the zoning act 40A. So that, and they said examples are a building up to 900 square feet or 50% of the square footage of the other parcel or the other home on the property. And the thing that makes this different is it doesn't have to be attached to the house. So if you want to put a 500 square foot mini home in your backyard, after February, you may be able to do it.
Yep.
And the idea is just to get more affordable housing for people in Massachusetts. And it's all part of this. Now, how this will impact the MBTA legislation, I don't know. But I had I think I told you people that I went back to work as a building inspector up in West Bridgewater temporarily until they find a new one, and hopefully that's going to be real soon. But I was leaving the office Friday night, and this young couple came to the door, and they questioned me on mini houses, mini homes, and I wasn't sure what they were talking about, but I said, right now you can't put a second dwelling unit on a house lot because that's the way it's been. But then when I went home, I started thinking about it, and I said, nah, I've heard of this. They call them ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And so I looked it up on the internet, and there was all of the stuff about the new housing bill and everything. And so I'm expecting that young couple to come back into the office again and say, you're wrong. And I'll have to say, yep, I was wrong. But they haven't worked out the regulations yet. So kids, you got to hold off a couple more months until the town works it out. And I talked to some of the town officials, and they said, yep, we got to do something. You will be allowed to tie into a septic system if the septic system is big enough to accept another bedroom. And that's how your septic systems are sized, by the number of bedrooms. Dictate. You will be able to tie into the house's electricity if the service is big enough. So it would require a 200 amp service anyways. But I think it's a really interesting concept that's going to change housing in the state, change real estate in the state quite a bit. So something new and different happening all the time, I guess. State government.
Didn't the governor also want them next to train stations or something?
Well, the MBTA legislation wants that zoning, which we have approved, to create zoning to allow 1,400 units within a half-mile radius of the train station.
Yeah.
Now, probably 50% of that land within a half-mile radius of the train station is owned by the state through the college.
Mm-hmm.
So it presents an interesting fact, and that's one of the reasons driving moving the train station. I'm told that Mr. Rulli has hired some consultants to come up with a feasibility study of moving the train station up onto the Spring Street area, the big Spring Street parking lot that's used by the college right now. But that's going to be interesting, because that land fortunately is contaminated with waste oil from the factory that was there. Yeah, the nail factory across the tracks and the shoe factory that had the 30,000 gallon oil tank there Because although it was pumped out, it was just collapsed on site with the provisions that the site be tarred over and seal it. So it's going to be interesting to whether they can start digging it up for a new railroad station. His proposal is to have businesses, small businesses around the railroad station, so that people can come into Bridgewater on a railroad train, and Bridgewater, the restaurants around the train station will be a destination where people will want to come from Brockton and Middleborough and Fall River to come up to Bridgewater to dine in the old shoe factory site. So,
That's a nice thought.
yep. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe my dog thinks it's a great idea. So, any other questions?
There
David,
was
I
one
have
other, sorry, go ahead, Sherry.
Go ahead. You finish up your committee
Okay,
notes there.
one last thing was, we motioned to purchase that Samuel Edson book.
Oh,
But we have to send a letter to the seller asking him for more time to collect the money. Because I think
Yeah.
the deadline he gave was just like a couple weeks long,
mhm.
and it's going to take some time to accumulate the funds. I guess you have to go through like the whole CPC process,
Yeah.
and so I haven't heard anything about it since then, but that's where it's at as far as I know.
Okay. If you can get me a little more detail on the book, the contents of it, or whatever, I'll put something together to support it with CPC. And we certainly
Okay.
don't have any money, but whatever we can do to help.
We have a CPC bucket for historical preservation.
Yeah.
So I think it would likely come out of there.
Was any thought to speak with Orson Kingsley at the college about their possible interest in it?
No, that didn't come up that I can remember.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more about the book. Edson is from real early days of Bridgewater, the Bridgewater
Yeah.
colony. So it probably something that I don't know what the OBHS has for funding. And quite frankly, I don't know what the future of the OBHS is, because I know they're struggling like everybody else. But they may be able to shed some light on other sources and so forth for money.
Do you know how to do a CPC application?
I've never done one. Well, I
Me
did
neither.
one 20 years ago for the Ironworks building, but I'm sure things have changed quite a bit since then.
Think we should get one started?
Well, if you think it's a possibility that CPC could purchase it, sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. CPC would accept that.
Okay. Well, give me some details on it, and I'll download an application. Seems to me I downloaded an application recently for some of the guys in the lodge wanted to go after some historic preservation money for the front of the lodge building. We got some issues over there, but we didn't go through with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at it.
If I remember right, there was some details in there about Native American life at the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
I remember that being mentioned. And I'm sorry, my notes are so bad, but I have something in here called the Beginning Treaty. Does that sound familiar?
Is that the first treaty that was signed in the 1640s? And the state later revoked it because the members of the Plymouth colony who engaged in it didn't have the blessings of the general court in Boston to do it.
Oh.
And they made him rescind it, and then that's when you came up with the one that was signed in 1656. That would be my guess, the beginning treaty.
Yeah. I don't really remember. My
Yeah.
notes are kind of messy.
I have never seen reference to that in Mitchell's history. I don't remember where I saw that. I think I was cruising through some books in the historical room one night, and I came across that story about the bad treaty, the illegal treaty. I don't know exactly what the problems with it were, but I think that's where I saw it. So that could be it. One thing I would
Maybe.
like to find, I know in my pile of stuff somewhere, I've got a document that was signed by residents of Bridgewater. I'm gonna say 1774 or 1775, and it was almost like a local Declaration of Independence. And it was mailed out from the OBHS, and I had a copy of it, and I put it in my files, but that's where it is. I don't know where, what file, but I would love to see another version of that, because a couple weeks ago, I went on a bus tour to Philadelphia, the Museum of the American Revolution, Valley Forge, and Annapolis, and it was really neat. It was a long 5 days on one of Billy Lucini's buses, but we had a decent hotel room, but we got to see Washington's summer headquarters tent is set up in the Museum of the Revolution.
Neat.
And we get to see the sarcophagus which holds John Paul Jones's body. It's pickled in brandy in the basement of the chapel at Annapolis. It's very impressive French marble, all ornately carved, and it was something to see. And the story about how it ended up at Annapolis is also an interesting story. John Paul Jones's life. He was quite a rascal, but it's an interesting story. Valley Forge was great, and of course the museum was pretty neat too. But anyways, so with that in mind, I thought I'd like to try to dig out that document.
Okay.
To see what it I forget exactly what it said, but it was basically a group of men in Bridgewater saying that they wanted their independence from the crown, and that must have rubbed Mr. Edson the wrong way, I'm sure. So before he left town. Well, I've done enough talking for tonight. Anybody run into Matt or hear anything from him?
No.
Yeah.
I think Sherry wanted to say something earlier.
Yeah, I just have a question. You know that where they're building the new fire station up on
Yep.
Pleasant Street?
Yeah.
Someone told me many, many years ago, when we first moved here in the 80s, that someone had died and they took the house down, but they left the green space to the town.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yep.
Is it where the fire station's going?
Yep. That's
Are they
exactly
gonna
it.
Okay, are they going
Well-
to maintain the front of it for green space?
I don't know. I haven't seen the plans. What's left? It's a very tight site because of the wetlands on it. The site out front that has the construction trailers and the porta potties on it is where the house was. It was a
Right.
Toole and his wife Lilia Toole. She was a war bride from the Philippines, really nice lady. And I never really knew either one of them. I know in the later years, her husband was the librarian at the prison, and his dream was to have a printing press in his house and print books. Well, he brought home every discarded book he could get his hands on. So I was called one night over to the house. So they were afraid that the fire department had gone there. He had passed away, and his wife was living there alone. And some friends had taken her out because of illness, and they called the fire department because they took her out in an ambulance. She never came back to the house.
Oh,
But it's no exaggeration. The ceiling in the living room, I'd never seen anything like it. It had sagged, I would say, between a foot and 18 inches, the center of the ceiling, and that the bulge was so extensive. So the fireman brought me, he says, "You got to see this." And he brought me upstairs, and the room above the living room was filled with books, at least 4 feet high. In some places, around the edges, even higher. And he had just been bringing home books, and then unfortunately he was suffering from dementia in the end. But he had a printing press in the basement, never got to use it. He had a couple chicken houses out back filled with books, and he passed away. She had a tremendous collection of crystal that she had picked up, and the Randall family, I think, ended up with a lot of that. They were friendly with, but anyways, she left the property to the town with the understanding that there would be green space and some trails and everything. And it was never done because the parking lot, it was determined, the town fathers determined that the parking lot to access the property would have been right on the curve, and they were concerned about people coming and going out into traffic. Well, it's what we're gonna do with the fire station now. But I guess there's gonna be a set of lights there to stop the traffic, to let
great.
the fire trucks out. But the last I heard, lawyer Jerry Fletcher was still trying to cut the best deal he could for the Toole family, and there were going to be some trails around the fire station out into the land behind it. But I think at best they'd be some pretty simple trails, and they'd probably end up getting forgotten in the future. And I was, like many people, were shocked to hear that the town was able to get access to that to build a fire station there.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
Yeah. So that's the story. It was left to the town
Okay.
for a park, and now it's a fire station. So,
Well, better than, houses or something else,
Yeah.
so.
yeah. So, okay, well, let's
Thank
plan
you
on
for
meeting
answering that.
we'll plan on meeting the third Tuesday in September. Hopefully we'll have a little more information on our bylaw change, our admin code change, and hopefully there'll be some more information on this book, and whether we're gonna go forward or whether we can put something together to get to the owner, get some money to the owner of the book so we can get it back to Bridgewater.
I can
Perfect.
probably review the recording somewhere, right, of last meeting?
The CPC meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah, that, I would get a hold of Gina and find out where it is. It should be on YouTube.
okay.
You know, I still would like to have us get together sometime. Getting together on YouTube, on Zoom is pretty convenient, but the Historic District Commission does it from the meeting room upstairs in the Academy building. And some of the members come to the meeting and other members do it from home. And it's a hybrid meeting. So,
Yeah, I like that idea.
yeah. So it works. It can be done. But I guess we're not on the list to allow that at this point. So we'll
Does
see.
it have to be approved?
Yeah, it has to be approved through, well, I've been bugging Josh about it for a long time. And, he kept saying, well, Mike's working on it, we gotta do this and that, and, so I never got anywhere. Other
Huh.
than lip service,
Yep.
Yeah.
so
Okay, well,
we'll keep trying, keep plugging away at it.
okay.
Has, anybody been down to see the, archivist yet?
No,
Okay, well, you get some spare time, go down and see her sometime. She's pretty neat, and she got the historical room set up pretty good, so she's more than happy
Oh,
to share
okay.
anything up there.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm taking my son to the library next week, so I'll
Oh,
stop and introduce myself. We
yeah,
get books from there like once a month. Take
yeah,
one to
me
read.
too.
yeah. Yeah, I order mine online. I go on the sales
Really?
website, and it's not like looking at a bookshelf, but if you see a book, like when I was down in let's see, I think I was in the bookstore at Valley Forge, I saw a book, The British Are Coming, and it's all about the American Revolution. And some of the people I was with said, "Oh, that's an awesome book. You ought to read it. You ought to buy it." Well, the book, they wanted like $40 for the book. So I went back to my hotel room that night and looked it up on sales, and it was waiting for me when I got home
Nice.
at the
Well, that's
library.
perfect, yeah.
Yeah, so you can put a reserve on it. You need a library card though. And because you gotta enter that into the computer, but once you get it in, you can search for any book, and they have a number of live recordings, tape recordings, ebooks and so forth. So, you get quite a bit through the internet.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to try it.
Yeah, give it a try. Go to the library webpage, and all the information is there. And if you have any trouble, just take your iPad or your phone down to the library, and they'll walk you through it.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. Anything else?
That's it
Not
for
for
me.
me.
Yep. Okay. Well, then we'll see you the third Tuesday in September or sooner. Call to order on some special emergency, whatever.
Okay. Good
Sounds
night,
good.
gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night.